Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to have you on the line tonight, and I just really honor you for being here. And take it from this little guy that we got on the screen here. It's time to get ready and put your helmet on, put your seatbelt on. We're going to go through as much as we possibly can. So tonight's webinar is called, there you go, how to build a full-time, highly lucrative speaking, coaching, and training business in the next 12 months, guaranteed. And when I talk about coaching, I really talk about, to me, coaching is everything. To me, coaching is whether you're doing speaking, whether it's private coaching, group coaching, trainings in corporations, so forth. All of those things are coaching to me. So they're all sort of under one umbrella. And, as I said, congratulations for attending this webinar. I really honor you for doing that and taking the time out of your evening. I know there's tons of stuff that you can be doing after a long weekend. Many of you probably got behind like I did. And so thank you. I really honor that. And here's what I could have and probably should have called this webinar. We should have called this webinar how to cut through all the chaos, confusion, and clutter with a just do this approach to building and marketing your transformational coaching and speaking business the right way, getting your message in motion now and attracting paid clients and doing it all fast, right? I spent way too much time with all this animation. I had a lot of fun. For those of you who are Mac users, Keynote is addicting and it is awesome. Anyway, that's really what we're going to be talking about. It's about building a business. And what this webinar is going to do for you is during the next little bit of time that we have together, I'm going to be teaching some of the higher level content so that you can build a lucrative, a sustainable, and a scalable coaching business, even if you're starting from scratch. Now, I know some of you are not starting from scratch. And so for you, that might mean going to the next level. I've been in this game for 7 years, and each time I start a new market or I start a new project, it's almost like starting a new business. We have to go back to the foundations, even if we're moving from one level to the next. So wherever you are in your business, if you're wanting to go forward, I think you're going to get a lot out of this call tonight, out of this webinar, and a little bit about partnering together toward the end of the call. I'll talk to you more about how we can partner and how we can work together. I always get that question. And just to kind of plant the seed, I will be leading a small group of Canfield Train the Trainer participants, as well as BTS participants and graduates, side by side with some technology and some training tools that I've developed specifically for coaches and trainers. And it's completely going to change the game for you. But I'll talk more about that towards the end. And for this webinar tonight, here's my intention. It's very simple. Well, let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to overwhelm you with a lot of confusing, tactical information. And what I find is that in this industry, that's what a lot of people show up to want to learn. They show up for the how-to information on a call like this. They want to know how to do videos, how to do social media, how to market their seminars, how to do their products, and all that stuff. And I really believe that that's off target. It's not the tools and the techniques and the strategies that's ultimately going to create long-term success in your business, although obviously that is a necessary part, and that's what a lot of people think they need. But actually, that's a dangerous and a very scary situation because the target is misplaced. And I think people think they need, or the thing that people think they need is really not the thing that they really need. And so that's why I say it's scary and the target's misplaced, because people show up to get something that is not the actual most critical information. So even if they get it, it won't move the needle very much for them. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight are really the foundational stuff. I want to go a little bit deeper with just a few foundational concepts that are absolutely critical to the long-term sustainability of your business. If this webinar was all about how-to tactical information, it would be 9 hours long at least, and that would just be part one. And what I found is that when people go after that tactical how-to information, they overwhelm themselves, and they ultimately confuse themselves, and they don't get going. And it's almost like I'm getting a visual right now of trying to run into the ocean where the waves are just hitting you. And first, when you hit into the water, you've got a lot of this momentum and you can go, but then the first wave hits you and then the second wave hits you and you get a little deeper and you start slowing down, and pretty soon your knees are below the level of the water, and then the waves can actually knock you over and you don't get very far offshore before you can't keep going anymore. And I've never thought of that analogy, but it fits perfectly because that's what a lot of coaches are doing in this industry. So I don't want to overwhelm you and bog you down with that stuff. I want to talk about the foundational concepts, right? And here's another thing about this webinar. I'm not into informing you. I don't want to inform you. I want to ignite you. Now, the fact is, most of you already have enough tools for you to get going and for you to build a business now. Those of you that don't have the tools, if you're brand new, those tools can be learned relatively easy. But what has to happen is you have to be ignited from within. You've got to find that passion deep inside of you that will cause you to not just get in motion, but stay in motion. And so that's what I really want to create for you tonight is an ignition, right? I want to light your passion on fire. I love that image right there. I want to light you on fire so that you can lead with your heart, and you've got energy inside of you that's so powerful that nothing can put it out. Not technology scares, not the fears that show up, not the traditional challenges that's going to show up with any business that you run, or any of the deeper internal or external challenges that are unique to this coaching and speaking and training gang. None of those things can outweigh the passion that's on your heart. But the problem is most people don't ignite that. That's what I want to do for you tonight. That is my highest intention. Now, you are absolutely in the right place tonight if you know you want to help people and you have this burning desire to really share your message with the world. And you also, you want to be a full-time speaker and you want to be a full-time coach. You want to do this full-time. Or as I mentioned earlier, maybe you are a full-time speaker or coach, but you're not earning the money that you make. That $100,000 obviously is arbitrary. I'm not a big $100,000 guy because there's plenty of people that make $100,000 and are totally unfulfilled. And there are people that don't need $100,000 to be totally happy. So you all, those of you that know me, you know I'm not a numbers guy, but at the same time, we do have to talk about business concepts so that you can fuel your mission and fulfill your purpose full time. I mean, what would it be like for you to be doing the work that you were called to do, the purpose that's been embedded in your DNA? What would it be like for you to do that full time so that it's not something that you have to create space for? It's something that you do, and that's who you are, and you show up that way day in and day out. Now, having said that, I am also not the kind of person that's going to judge you if you have a job or if you don't want to do this full time. There's no judgment here. But my experience is most people want to do this at a higher level than they're doing it now, and most of them want to do this full time. And if that's you, then let's go. Let's rock. Then this is the place for you. And you also must be serious about success, and you got to be willing to do what it takes. You have to be willing to be intentional to build a lucrative business. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys wouldn't be in Jack's community. You wouldn't have showed up on this webinar if you didn't have these checklists, but I just really want to set the stage. Now, you're in the wrong place if, and you know what? Nobody's in this place. I'm just going to go through these like so fast. I'm not even going to go through them. You're in the wrong place if you're a lottery player and you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and get into it. But I know that's not speaking to anybody on this line. So I just want to keep going. Now, here's how this is going to work tonight. I'm going to be going for about 75 to 90 minutes. I'll probably be going well over the speaking speed limit as I've already started now, right? And what I want you to do is type in your questions as you think of them, or write them down so that I can answer them later on the question and answer session. I'll stick around for Q&A as long as we can. But here's my suggestion to you. It's actually not a suggestion. This is my rule for tonight. I do not want you to take notes of information, okay? My rules tonight, and this is going to be a little bit different for most people, but I don't want you to take notes on anything that I say, just to capture the information. I don't want you to be a scribe, right? I want you to only write notes on the ideas that you plan to implement, the ideas that are inspired thoughts, like that's good. I'm going to put that into my business. I'm going to live with that concept right there. I want you to take advantage of those sparks of information that absolutely will happen over the next hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, however long we have tonight. those sparks are what will ignite that passion inside of you. But if you show up as an intellectual being that wants to try to take all this information down, then you're going to stifle all of those inspired sparks that need to come out. So I don't want you to be furiously writing down the words that I say like you're, like some kind of courtroom stenographer. That's not what this is about. I want you to just live my words and take notes on the inspired thoughts that you have. And here's the thing, my words are going to live on. We're recording this. You're going to be able to go back and listen to my words and take down the bullet points. I just don't want your head to get caught up in the bullet points and have your heart miss something that it absolutely needed to get tonight, right? So, basically I'm giving you full permission to completely check out of the content if you need to, right? Pay attention to your inspiration, listen to your heart instead of my information, and then come back when that thought is complete, and then come back or maybe listen to the recording later on. I guarantee you this webinar is going to be so much more valuable for you that way. You're going to maximize your effectiveness on all levels. So hopefully that's a deal. All right. Now, we're going to be covering a lot, as much as I possibly can. You can tell I'm going to talk fast. I'm going to go as quick as I can, and you'll probably have trouble catching all the information, which is fine. But stick around to the end, because I will show you how to get an MP3 recording if you want to put it on your iPod or your phone. You want to listen to it later on. You can catch anything that you didn't get the first time. And I would suggest you listen to this call 3 or 4 or 5 times so that you can really absorb the information and catch the stuff that you're not going to catch tonight. And I'm also going to give you a really cool resource checklist that Romeo and I have been putting together on things like the best email systems that you can use, and shopping carts and video cameras and audio recording devices and conference call companies and lighting packages and editing software and all these tools of the trade, the technology tools of the trade. I'll give you that in a resource after the call. So that's one of my little carrots to get you to stick around to the end. Now, before I get into the information, I want to share a little bit about me. Oh man, it's hard for me to look at that picture without tearing up. So here's who I am, and that's who I am, and that's who I live for. And many of you know Sybil in the BTS world. Many of you've met my son Exley and my daughter McKenna. And the bottom line is, I'm a father and a husband first, and I'm a speaker and coach second. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that way, but I just want to tell you who I am and who you're listening to. I have the absolute most amazing family: Sybil, my wife; McKenna, my daughter; and Exley, my son. But before all of this, I want to tell you a little bit about how I even got onto this path. And some of you know this story, but for many of you, you don't know the story. When I was 13 years old, I was almost killed in a hit and run accident as I was riding my bike to school. And there was a car that hit me doing 50 miles an hour, and he didn't even slow down, didn't even pump the brakes. And so if you look at the details of the accident, there's no reason that I should have survived. The car doing 50 miles an hour, I pulled out right in front of him. There's no reason that I should have survived. But, for whatever reason, thankfully, I wasn't done that day. And instead of having this early death, I feel like, the man upstairs gave me a precious gift of perspective. And my whole life changed that day. I realized that I'm mortal. I realized that no matter what's happening in our life, it can all end in an instant without warning. And so I started hanging around different people. I started seeing the world differently. I started asking myself, who has the stuff that I want and who has the stuff that I don't want? And I started following the people who have the things that I want, and I started avoiding people who have the things that I don't want. And a lot of times that's even more important. And so for 20 years, I just, I had made this promise to myself that if we only have one shot, and if there's a chance to live a life of excellence, and if there's not just a chance, but a choice to live a life of excellence instead of settling for a life of mediocrity, I promised myself that day in a hospital bed when I was 13 years old that I was going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes for the rest of my life to fight for that life of excellence. I would never settle for mediocrity. And I'm positive most of you have made that similar choice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be attracted to this work. But even though I made that choice and sacred promise to myself, I still struggled for the next 20 years of my life. I still wasn't able to get most of the goals that I had set for myself. And then I found the power of the unconscious mind. And I'll tell that story in a moment. But my mission ever since then, which is about 7 years ago, is to empower people to just live lives with passion and purpose and presence. Because we don't know when we're going to punch our ticket. We don't know when our last breath is going to be. We don't know if we're going to have the privilege and the blessing to wake up tomorrow. So I want everybody to live now, be here now in this moment, and not spend time in the future, in the fear, in the worries, in the doubts. And that's what my accident taught for me. So that's my that's my mission. And that's why I got into this game. Now, from a business standpoint, some of you already knew this. I think I might have said it on the other video. We've earned a lot of money, relatively speaking. I mean, I don't have the sexiest story out there, right? But we've done pretty well. We've done over $1 million in about 6 years of business, mostly just by getting in motion and making a lot of mistakes. If I give myself credit for the most powerful characteristic that I had, I was just getting in motion. I had an idea in the morning and it was on a website later that afternoon, and they were god awful, horrifically ugly websites. But you know what? I got in motion. And that's what separated me, I think, from a lot of people who were just spending too much time trying to figure out the intellectual side of the game. And I was just, you know what? My heart was on fire, like that picture a few moments ago. My heart was on fire and I needed to share what I knew with people. That was it. And so I got in motion. And that's why I say I want to ignite you to just get in motion. I don't want you to stifle your message another moment. Life is too short to be trained to be chained by the restrictions of our past. Right? We're all writing the story of our life, and we can either be more committed to our previous chapters or we can be more committed to the future chapters. Whichever one you choose, you better act accordingly. And I suggest you commit to your previous chapters, not everything that's happened to you in your past. That will just keep you stuck. And we don't know how long our life is going to be or how long we have others that we love, how long their lives are going to be. And many of you know that my mom passed away in May of this year. So this is pretty fresh for me still. And my mom taught me so much about forgiveness and about support. And she unconditionally supported me. And when I was a kid, I didn't accept her support. I didn't receive it. And I was too busy being the cool guy and, pretending that she was the bad guy. But over the course of our relationship, she really taught me the power of forgiveness, and she taught me the power of unconditional support. No matter how much I pushed her away, she kept opening her arms and kept coming at me with a bigger hug. And so I know that, wherever she is, she's got a laptop open upstairs and she's watching in on this webinar as well. And the kids called her Paint Grandma because she taught them how to paint. And many of you also know that my dad passed away about 1.5 years ago. And trust me, this whole webinar is not going to be like some big tear fest. I just want you to know a little bit about where I'm coming from and where my heart is, so that you can understand my perspective on everything that I teach and everything that I desire. And, my dad was my best friend. I mean, I'd never been mad at that guy. Not once in my entire life. I had never been mad at that guy. We had never gotten into an argument. He was just the biggest teddy bear, and he was my absolute best friend. And I'm not going to tell you the whole story. I learned so many lessons during his bout with pancreatic cancer and caring for him here. That's a whole other webinar by itself. But I do want to tell you about his last words to me. When it was time, when he was almost at the end of his life and everybody knew it, I had a chance to actually take some pain patches off of him and have one final conversation. Because the hospice nurses had put all these pain patches on him, and they took the pain away like he wanted, but they also took my dad away. And I just wanted one final conversation with my dad. And so we took the pain patches off, and after a few hours, he came back, and I had this beautiful, cleansing, final conversation with my dad. And I told him how much I loved him. I told him how much he meant to everybody around. And I asked him, I said, Dad, what can I do to make you proud once you're gone? And he just shook his head like I'd asked a silly question. And he said, Shawnee, he called me Shawnee. He said, Shawnee, just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And the words just rolled off his tongue like it was just a matter of fact. I mean, who doesn't know this stuff? Just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And I felt like he had given me this torch of wisdom that I am now obligated to share with as many people as I possibly can. And so this has really become, my motto: just be, do, and live. And I carry it around with me everywhere I go. That's my license plate. It's be, do, live. And it reminds me of how simple life can be. And it's in those simple moments that the most fulfilling parts of life are experienced. So that's who I am. That's my message as a person. Now, why I'm here with you today, here's why I invited you on this webinar. Here's why I put it together, because I'm here because I know that you're a person of service whose goal is to help as many people as you possibly can in your unique journey, whoever it is that you're here to serve. You all have your own journeys, and I totally respect that. And I just want to be here to support that. And my purpose tonight is really to hold a space open for you of belief and advocacy, for you to bet on yourself, for you to get into the ring and get into a good fight for all of your goals and dreams. Every person that I've ever known who's done anything significant in their lives, at some point in time, they've taken everything they have, tangibly, externally, internally, emotionally, and they betted on themselves. And they said, it's time to leave that past behind, and I'm going forward. And every single one of us has a moment like that we decided to go for it. And my intention tonight is to hold this space open for you to bet on that person, to act on that moment, and to go for it. That's what I want. And I know you can play a bigger game. I know you're meant for it. I know you want to play that bigger game. But I don't want you to play a game where the odds are stacked against you. And unfortunately, in this industry, that's what happens a lot, right? So I'm on a mission. I'm going to be bold right from the beginning here. I'm on a mission. I want to start nothing less than an empowerment revolution in the coaching world. And my goal is to create at least 1,000 full-time, highly successful coaches that are doing this work at the level that they want to be doing it and serving humanity and helping people, so that we can start, this ripple. And it's not just a ripple. I mean, it's a tidal wave. It's a tsunami. I want to start a tsunami of empowerment. But there's a problem in this industry, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about. Here's the problem in this industry, of the speaking and coaching industry. The problem is that most people get into this game because they want to change lives. They had some transformational experience at a seminar in a coaching program, and they say, I want to do that for other people. But the problem is, most of them will never make it. Most of them will end up 15 feet into the water off the shore and decide they can't make it any longer, and they're just going to turn around and walk right back up on shore. And I heard a stat the other day that it was like 50% or 60, some ungodly percentage of coaches never make $1, never make their first dollar. And that's a problem, because we have too many talented people whose heart is in the right place, but they're not making it work for themselves. So we have to change that. And it's easy to get stuck in what I call the quicksand of all these advanced marketing tactics and all the scary technology. And what happens is people's messages die inside of them. Most people go to their grave with music yet to be played, with unspent potential. And I don't want you, anybody on this line, anybody that I know, I don't want any of us to be one of those people. We get one chance in this lifetime. We get one shot. Now, we have many chances throughout our lifetime, but we get one lifetime to make a difference. We get one shot to make that impact, to leave a mark on this world. I'm thinking of this song. There's a song by Beyonce, and it's called I Was Here. If you haven't heard that, please Google Beyonce. Not now, at a different time. This is one of those times where I don't want you to go chase one of those inspired thoughts. But go Google Beyonce and listen to her song, I Was Here. And it should make your skin crawl with goosebumps and inspiration, because it's all about when I'm gone, I want the world to know that I was here. I made a difference in somebody's life, and I know we all have that inside of us. But if you can't, figure it out, if you can't build that business, then the bigger problem here is not that you don't get what you're wanting in your life. It's not that you don't have the financial freedom to get all the the external, whatever that is, to get the external stuff, the tangible rewards. That's not really the big issue here. The big issue here is the people that you're here to serve, they don't get help. I believe each and every one of these, each and every one of us has a seeker, people that are desperately seeking the knowledge that we and we alone have to give to them. And if we can't figure this out, then they lose. And there's a bigger population out there that doesn't get this help, that's inside your DNA, and you are obligated to share that message with the world. All the lessons and learnings that you have, that you've experienced along the way, those are not yours to keep. You have an obligation to share those with as many people as possible. So that's why we've got to fuel this mission. That's why we've got to figure out how to create this business so that we can start that revolution and we can serve these people. And unfortunately, most people, what happens is, they just end up quitting. The waves get too big and too powerful, and they lick their wounds and they just retreat. And I don't want any of you to do that. So here's my umbrella message for tonight. My umbrella message is, you can do this. And I know that's really elementary, but you have to believe that. And if I have to be your biggest advocate, then I will. But you can absolutely do this. It is possible to make a fantastic living fulfilling your purpose and helping a ton of people along the way, and get paid pretty well to do it. Not that the money is the most important thing, but it is a factor here. But the bigger issue is you fulfilling your purpose, and that absolutely is possible. And the reason I start with that is, I would say one of the biggest doubts and fears that people have is, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can help people. I don't know if I can sell. I don't know if I can fill a seminar room. I don't know if I can do that. And I'm here to tell you, I almost swore. I am going to swear. Bullshit. You can do that. Sometimes you got to call bullshit on those doubts and those fears, because your mission is that important. You got to stand up and fight for that thing. Those of you that are parents, what would happen if somebody were to stand in front of you and tell your children that they can't have what they want in their lifetime? You might knock them out. Well, it's time for us to stand up and have that same resolve and show up like that mama bear for our goals and dreams, because we all have a kid inside of us that wants everything it ever wanted. And it's time for us to step in front of that kid and take on all opposition, right? Take on everything that's going to get in front of you and your dreams. So you have to be willing to get into a good fight for every last goal that you had. Those goals are put into you for a reason. You better fight for them. Now, it's possible to do this, and especially if the odds are stacked in your favor. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But here's the thing, as long as you have the right tools, as long as you have the right guidance, as long as you have the right support systems, and as long as you have the right preparation, you can do anything. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to know what's ahead of you, right? You got to know. So you can be prepared. But if you have the preparation and you have the skill set and the awareness and the support, there's nothing that you can't tackle, no matter how big the obstacles are, no matter how big those fears are, no matter how big that voice inside of you that's saying, stop, don't do it, you can't do this, turn around, retreat. No matter how loud that voice is, there's a deeper voice that you can tap into that's saying, go for it. You can absolutely do this. Now, before I get into the framework, I want to tell you a little bit about how I got my start in this game. And here's why I think this is important. Most people get into this game and they see a lot of the results of the hard work, but they don't see the beginnings. All of you are familiar with Jack Canfield. You know Jack as the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, 60 plus New York Times bestsellers, The Success Principles, hundreds of people at his Breakthrough to Success seminars, The Secret movie. He's all over the place. That's how most of us got to know Jack. The most inspiring stories that I know about Jack are the ones where, Patty told me when she first started working for him 25 years ago, right? he was just in this little tiny office, and she was his secretary, and they were making almost no money. They could barely make ends meet month to month. And Jack was the kind of guy that would make a little bit of money at a speaking gig and go spend like $4,000 on plants so that he can decorate the office. And Patty is pulling her hair out, and she's going, "What are you doing? We can't even pay the light bill, and you're furnishing the office." And it's those stories that endear me to Jack. I know him as Jack the human, not Jack the star of The Secret. So I think it's important for us to know the beginning steps, because most of us cannot relate to somebody who's been in business for 30 years. Most of us can't relate to making $100,000 if you haven't made any money yet. Most of us can't relate to doing $1 million product launch. Is it possible? Sure. But most of us can't relate to that stuff. So I don't want you to learn, high school curriculum if you're still in kindergarten right now. And that's not a values judgment. If that's where you are in the game, then we got to get you through kindergarten curriculum first. Then we'll get you to first grade, then second grade, then third grade. So I think it's important for us to all know, how did we start? There was a point in time when every single one of us that have been in this business for a long time, we had our first day in class. We showed up at the bus stop scared with our little backpack on that was, twice the size of us. And we went to our very first class in kindergarten with our knees knocking. So I don't want you to compare yourself to what you see to the college graduates. I want you to know about the people that really started from the very beginning. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I got my start in this game. In 2005, I went to a seminar that a lot of you are familiar with. It's James Malinchak's College Speaking Success Bootcamp. I was drawn to that. I saw the money that could be made, and I decided I'm going to be a speaker. But I still had all these fears and limiting beliefs, and I didn't take action on that promise that I made myself in January. And then I got introduced to Jack, and in August, I attended Breakthrough Success. And I went through the purpose exercise, and I really got clear on what my purpose is. And I asked myself a very powerful question at BTS that year. I said, how many people are not getting the help that they need right now because I'm sitting on my hands, not going after this? And that question brought me to my knees. And I realized that it's not okay for me to not do this work. I have a message inside of me that has to get out. And it was at Jack's event that I realized that, and he sparked something in my heart that had never been sparked before, because that's where our purpose lives. He lit that heart on fire like the image a little bit ago. And so that's when I realized I have a purpose that's much bigger than me. But I still had all these fears and limiting beliefs until November of 2005. I was in a seminar run by a lady named Melanie Benson Strick, and we did this goals exercise. I said I wanted to, in 90 days, I wanted to have this seminar with 100 people in the room. And as I was speaking these words, I just started crying uncontrollably, and I couldn't talk. And I bumped up face to face. I didn't know this at the time, but I really bumped up face to face with my deepest internal fears called, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Who the hell are you to do this work? And I had this conflict internally. Now, luckily for me, there was a gentleman in the room who knew about limiting beliefs. He happened to be an NLP practitioner, and he walked me out of the room, and he takes me through this exercise. And in about 18 minutes, he helps me identify what anchor is really at the bottom of the seafloor that's holding my boat back. It wasn't my lack of desire. It wasn't my skill set. It wasn't my talent. It was this unconscious anchor that I didn't know about. Nobody had taught me about. Nobody helped me uproot. And he helped me uproot that thing. And in about 18 minutes, I uplifted, I erased, and dissolved my biggest limiting beliefs like that. And that's when I finally got in motion. And 90 days later, actually about 60 days later, I emailed Matt back and I said, dude, I don't know what you did to me. And frankly, I don't care. I have two questions. Was it legal? And where do I get it? And I really didn't care if it was legal. I wanted to know where to get it. And so he told me it was NLP, and I just followed where he told me to go, and I got certified in neuro-linguistic programming. Everything in my life changed. I started learning the power of the unconscious mind, and then I wanted to help other people. So I spent a lot of time in those early days going to Chamber of Commerce events, speaking at local schools, speaking for anybody that I could speak for, talking about anything they would let me talk about. I just was ignorance on fire. I just went out there and I was talking. So if any of you don't have a niche, and if you don't have a solid business and you don't have a game plan, I want you to do that. I want you to speak anywhere, everywhere about anything and everything so you just get out there. You got to get referrals. You got to expose people to your message. And invariably, you're going to have people say, I know somebody who needs this message. I want you to come speak to my firm. I want you to come speak to my son's school. So just get out there and talk. That's what I was doing. And then eventually I decided I want to do a seminar. And I wanted to speak to athletes. So I did a seminar in February of 2006. It was called How to Maximize Your Athletic Ability. I had 100 people in the room. There were about 25 Mary Kay ladies who sell Mary Kay cosmetics, independent business owners. And they came up to me afterwards and they said, will you teach this stuff to us? This applies to us too. And I said, absolutely not. I want to talk to athletes. But after a few months, the athletic business wasn't going anywhere. So I followed this lead and I went and I spoke for a Mary Kay event and I just fell in love. And this is one of those things where if you trace it back, if I hadn't done the event, if I hadn't been speaking all over the place, none of these ingredients would have happened. And I would have never found that Mary Kay opportunity. And in 2006, I decided I want to really dive into this world of Mary Kay. So I was speaking all over my local area at local Mary Kay meetings. I was selling them little books and tapes and CDs and stuff like that. And I was starting to build a following and I was learning their language and I was really getting to the point where I could help them. And then in 2007, in January, I decided, you know what, it's time to go bigger. It's time to take more control. And that's when I started to do my own events. Instead of speaking at other people's events, I started to do my own events. And I say that's the good decision because that really launched us in 2007. And around that time, I learned how to do internet marketing. I learned how to do Google ads. I learned how to do squeeze pages and sales pages and websites. I learned how to do all that stuff and really amplify my message online. And I found some channels within Mary Kay that was just like rocket fuel on what I was already doing. And so that year, we went crazy. That year, we made over $350,000. And really, it was about the last 10 months of that year when I started to do my own events, do my own coaching programs, sell bigger ticket items, sell bigger packages, and it was just fantastic. I probably did 25 seminars all over the US and Canada that year, and it was awesome. And then in 2008, we made a critical decision that was just brutal. It actually wasn't June of 2008. It was January of 2008. I decided we made $350,000 in 2007. I want to take it a little bit bigger and I want to go for $1 million. So immediately my head got involved and I went after a money goal. And I've never been driven by money ever. I have at least a dozen CDs that tell people don't focus on money. It'll take you away from your passion and your purpose. Almost nobody is inspired and motivated by money. And those people who are motivated by money aren't really motivated by money. They just think they're motivated by money. I say that until I'm blue in the face. And yet in January of 2008, I started chasing a money goal and disaster hit. I mean, we just started tanking. Our business collapsed. We had to fire our employees. And ultimately in September 2009, all of that led to bankruptcy. That year and a half was the most painful year and a half in business, but it was also the most significant year and a half. It's in that year and a half that I grew up. I learned about business. I learned about marketing. I learned about my own internal drivers. I learned most of what I now know in that year and a half because it takes adversity usually for us to learn. Now, the good news for us is that we had a huge pile of success in 2007 that continued us going even while we went through this bankruptcy. So our business collapsed, but we still had enough success that we could fall back on that in September of 2009 or after that bankruptcy, I started to turn it around a little bit and I started to go forward and we really started to right the ship. But it's in that year and a half that ultimately caused me to file bankruptcy that I became I learned my mentorship. I became more valuable as a leader and as a coach in that year. I didn't become valuable in the year when we made, a couple $100,000. I became valuable in the year where I was, I was contemplating quitting. In any moment of those 18 months, if somebody would have said, hey, because I had like $20,000 of expenses during that time. If somebody would have said, I will pay you $20,000 of expenses, you won't have a dollar left over for anything other than paying your bills, if you come work for me, I would have taken it in a second. I was that broken. I was that discouraged. I was ready to throw in the towel because it was just too much for me to handle. There was so much of a pride hit that I took. And I was ready to tank. I was ready to give it all up. But as I said, I had the success to fall back on, so we kept going. And then once we righted the ship, Jack started his the trainer program in, I believe, September of, or sometime in 2009, 2010. And that's when I really got involved in this crowd, in this community, and started talking to people who want to do this work full time. And that's where I realized, I've done it really well for a long period of time. And then I did it really bad for a year and a half. And that experience for me, I can overlap the ingredients, there are two recipes there, and I can tell people, don't do this. I made that mistake. Absolutely don't do this. Even though people are telling you to do that, even though it's intuitive to do that, do not do that. You will crash. And if you don't have a huge wave that you're already riding, you have to quit. You won't have anything you can fall back on. And I can tell people, do this. So I think I have a relatively unique experience of doing it really, really good and really poorly right next to each other so that I can see what to do and what not to do, basically. So I wanted to give you a little bit about my background and the starting points of my journey so that you can see where my perspective is coming from and you can see the filters that I'm looking through. So everything that I teach you is coming from bankruptcy. It's coming from pride that has been bruised. It's coming from embarrassment. It's coming from pain. It's coming from losing a ton of money. It's coming from firing my friends that I talked out of jobs so they can come work for me, and then I had to fire them a few months later. That's where all of this passion is coming from. And I want you to know where, those emotions are. So that's what I teach from. I teach from my experience and I teach from my passion. Now, here are some of the most common reasons for failure, in my opinion, in this industry, especially in the transformational game, because by nature, those of us who are drawn to the world of coaching, especially coming out of, a Jack Canfield seminar, anybody that's in this heart-centered space, we are by nature repelled by the idea of marketing. Because for most of us, the programming of sales and marketing, the connotation of it, is the exact opposite of helping people. If you help people, how can you charge them money? How can you become that salesman and still show up in a heart-centered way and authentically serve people at the same time? Now, it is absolutely possible to do that, but the way most of us are holding on to what sales and marketing is, and the way most of us have experienced sales and marketing in the past, those two things don't match. They're not congruent. So there's just this inherent tension between what people want to do in this business and what it takes to build a business at the same time. So most people have the odds stacked against them for that reason. The other thing is, too many people are trying to reinvent the wheel by doing it on their own. And you hear this time and time again. Jack talks about it all the time. Success is a team sport. So many of us are trying to be the person that can do it all. We were programmed from the beginning that if you're strong, you don't need help, you don't need support. That will crush your business. That will ruin your journey if you try to do it all on your own. I've never known a single person that's ever done that, yet I know most people are trying to be the first. Please don't try to be the first to blaze that trail, right? Just, get on the shoulders of other people. We hear that all the time. Walk, or I forget what the exact phrase is, stand on the shoulders of giants who've walked before you, something like that. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to get stuck collecting all this information. A lot of people get stuck in that quicksand, but they don't implement stuff because they're too busy learning all these things. They're too busy learning the technology and getting frustrated by the technology and learning all of these systems one by one, but they don't implement. And if you don't have the implementation systems, then all of that information just doesn't matter. I mean, information is useless unless you implement, right? So it's about implementing. Now, another big problem is simply uncertainty, and that's a really big umbrella that applies to so many different areas, but uncertainty will kill you. It will kill your business because if you don't have certainty, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know who you're serving, if you don't know where they are, if you don't know what they want, if you don't know how they want you to sell to them, And if you're not certain in your abilities, if you don't have the confidence internally, if you can't stand authoritatively in front of somebody that says, I can help you and here's how, then you will repel people. You will not be a magnetic transformational force if you don't have certainty. So with that certainty comes confidence and it comes attraction. If you don't have attraction, you don't have magnetism, if you don't have something that people want, listen, life coaches are a dime a dozen, but magnetic life coaches are not. Magnetic life coaches and business coaches and speakers and trainers, magnetic people are hard to find. So you've got to stand out, and certainty is the best way that you can do that. So if you don't have that certainty, I just don't think you can win this game. And the other thing is when you have all of these ingredients, you're just going to be stuck in overwhelm. And one of the most common questions that I get or answers when I ask people what they want, it's like, I just want somebody to do all of these things at once. I don't want to have to go to all these different programs individually. It would be nice to have somewhere where you can do all of these things at once. And so that's one of the biggest problems that I see in this industry. And that's one of the problems that I want to fix, quite honestly and boldly. And then this is a whole other webinar on its own, but I just want to mention it because the biggest reason it's going to stop people is inner game obstacles. It's the fears, the doubts, the limiting beliefs, the lack of support internally, externally. It's those questions that are ultimately going to cause somebody to not use the tools that they know how to use. So that's what we need to do, is we need to clear those inner obstacles. And you cannot be a transformational force as powerful as you could be unless you have what I call a clear mirror. Now, we're never going to be done working on ourselves, but you have to go through the work yourself. You have to get rid of as many limiting beliefs as you possibly can. You have to continually go on that journey always. It's like bathing. Zig Ziglar says you got to do it daily. So that's what personal development is like. We got to continually stay in this game, because if you don't, you know what? If you don't, I really think you're bordering on fraud. If you're selling services that you're not doing yourself, in other words, if you're telling other people that they should have a coach and you don't have a coach, I think that's fraudulent. I really do. And you have to be congruent. So you have to be playing the game that you're teaching other people how to play at the same time. That's going to be a never-ending, ongoing journey. We'll never get to the end of that journey. And that's what makes it so freaking awesome, is that this is a never-ending journey. Now, let me put some details on this. I alluded to some of these, but let me put some details on this. I want to share with you the 5 most painful and most expensive mistakes I ever made. Because here's what I've learned. In this game, it's not so much the things that you get right that are going to determine whether you win or lose. And it's not about winning or losing compared to other people, but whether you're able to achieve your goals or not. It's more about whether you can avoid the mines. Can you avoid the bombs? Can you avoid the mistakes? Because it's those mistakes that will take most people down. So what you want to know is how to navigate the minefield. And most of those mines, unfortunately, those bombs are hidden. So I want to teach you. This is the most valuable information I can give you. Not what to do, what not to do. This is the most valuable screen right here that could save you literally years, thousands of dollars, and get you where you want to go so much faster. So pay attention to this screen, right? The first one, this is not in any kind of order, not sequentially or by importance. It's just random. The first one is I stopped serving an individual person. When I decided to go big, to make that $1 million push in 2008, I decided I want to open up my market and serve more people. And that's one of the most critical mistakes that most people make. They want to be a general success coach because they're like, my stuff can help everybody. Yes, every single person who's listening to my words right now, you have stuff for everybody. I totally understand that. But you can't teach everybody. That's the problem, right? So you have to pick, you have to choose individual people to serve, because the bottom line is markets don't buy things. Markets don't buy things from you. People buy things. And so you have to speak to individual people in your marketing, in your conversations, in your branding, in everything. You have to speak to individual people. Now, what I promise you, when you speak to individual people, you will be able to attract more people than when you try to speak to all of them at once. Your language doesn't have clarity in it when you're trying to speak to a bunch of people at once. If you're trying to be a generic success coach, most people are not going to be attracted to that message because success coaches are a dime a dozen. And I'm not trying to be really harsh on people, but the bottom line is you have to have a message that's magnetic. And the way you do that is to speak to people individually. You want to enter the conversation that's already going on in their head. I had that when I was serving Mary Kay ladies. Then I took it away when I changed my market. That is probably the first mistake that I made that led to the huge collapse. Now you can serve multiple markets at the same time. Just do them separately. It's like having, I never thought of this. It's like having call waiting, right? You can be talking to the housewife about, finding her voice and then have somebody else on hold and say, hold on a second, click hold, and then go over here and talk to the athlete about goals and, visualizations, and then put him on hold and then go back and talk to the housewife. You can have multiple conversations, just not at the same time. I don't want you to conference call them in together. Talk to them individually. All right, next thing. I changed too many variables at once. When I made that decision to change the game, I changed my marketing, I changed my message, I changed my websites, I changed the way that we were trying to get people in our room. I changed the title of my events, and I changed the flow. I virtually changed everything when I had this big $1 million seminar idea. And one of the things that I learned that is so critical is you got to change. First of all, building a business is all about tests and tweaks. You test things. If it doesn't get the results you're looking for, you tweak it. But when you test and tweak, you've got to change one variable at a time whenever possible so that you know what worked. And these small shifts are what's going to make the bigger changes in your business, but it's also going to give you that clarity and certainty for you to continue adjusting along the way. So I don't want you to make all these huge shifts at the same time. I want you to make one change at a time if possible. If you can't make one, then just do two. But you've got to really chunk down the changes that we make whenever we're going to switch paths. The third thing, when my income took a nosedive in 2008, I absolutely retreated. And instead of continuing to push forward, what I did is just like I said, I went backwards. Whoops, sorry about that. I retreated. I started trying to plug the holes in my leaking boat rather than, swimming with the oars. Rather than paddling, I was just simply trying to plug the holes. So my boat kept sinking faster and faster and faster. I stopped doing the things that got me to where I was going while I was in retreat mode. And I stayed there for about a year and a half. And in sports, they have a saying that says the best defense is a good offense. And you have to stay aggressive in this game. You have to keep going forward. When you're in retreat mode, everything will continue to implode. And while I was in retreat mode, it was during this time, this is a little separate, so I have it as a separate bullet. While I was in retreat mode, I fired my coaches and I unplugged from my support team. But that is such a critical mistake. You don't want to be solo man or solo woman, the person that's just doing it all on your own. It wasn't until about a year and a half later that I took a look at the recipes I was following in 07 versus the recipes I was following in 08 and 09 that I realized part of the ingredients was I didn't have any coaches anymore. I fired them all because I thought I couldn't pay for them. And because of that, I unplugged from their neutral awareness, from all of their experiences, from all of their guidance, from their help, from their support, from their belief in me. I unplugged from all of it. I also unplugged from my masterminds. I unplugged from my accountability partners. I stopped going to seminars. I still went to Jack's, but I stopped going to anything else. I unplugged from the things that got me there in the first place. So absolutely never do that. Always have coaches, always have mentors, always have masterminds, always have accountability partners, always go to events. That's part of your success team. It should be a non-negotiable no matter where you are in your life or in your business. You've got to surround yourself with supportive environments. And then the last one here is, and this is more of a tactical mistake. I went into a market, the parenting world in 2009. I went into a market that I was totally unprepared for. I was unfamiliar with. I didn't know the players. I didn't have a model to follow. And I just went in there cold. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't get anything accomplished in that market, is because I wasn't prepared. So hopefully you've got some nuggets just in these 5 bullet points that will cut literally years and tons of money and growing pains off of your learning curve as much as possible. You know what? I got a question here. Sorry, it says that I cut out for a little bit. I can't see how long I cut out for, so I apologize about that. But so hopefully we can get the audio. It looks like I cut out for maybe about 30 seconds. If that's the case, I'll find a way to get the audio to you, and we'll figure that out. Or I'll just tell you what I said during those 30 seconds. Hopefully it wasn't anything important. All right. So here's the deal. If you really want to make this, you really want to make a go at this, you have 2 choices. This is the way I see it. You've got a fork in the road. Your 2 choices are, you can reinvent the wheel and try to do it all on your own from scratch, and you can pour all kinds of money and time and energy into products and programs and all that stuff and really play a game that you'll probably struggle with. Or you can play a game that we've already won for you. You can play a game that people have already figured out, and you can tap into a framework so that you can shorten your learning curve. You can eliminate most of those painful mistakes. You can speed up the journey. You can learn from people who've already done what you want to do. But more importantly, you can learn from the people who've made the mistakes that you ultimately want to avoid, those mistakes that will take your business down. Now, if you want to learn from the mistakes that I made and mistakes that other people have made that I've learned from, I want to share with you 3 transformations that you've got to make, especially in today's world. You know, we live in a society now where people don't trust other people. We live in a society where the internet's been around, you know, for 20 years. And the game is different than it was 5 years ago. It's different than it was 2 years ago. So we have to constantly understand what's out there, what's in the hearts and the minds of the people that we're trying to serve. How can we stand out? And you've got to be distinct. You've got to be different. And you have to continually evolve. This is about an evolution process, right? So 3 of the transformations you have to make, I'm going to spell them out, and then I'm going to go to each one of them individually. 3 transformations you have to make is you have to stop working forwards and you have to start working backwards. And what I mean by that is in your branding, in your product creation, in your campaign design, in your sales funnels, in the title of your programs, in the pricing. We've got to work backwards, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The second transformation is to go from do it yourself, which is a disaster, to done for you. Let's, tap into resources that other people already have, mistakes they've already made, problems they've already solved. Get into frameworks that you can follow instead of trying to figure it out all by yourself, whether it's, technology stuff like website and autoresponders and all the forms and research and checklists and sales and copy, all that stuff. Don't try to figure it out on your own. And then the third one is, instead of fighting what you loathe, instead of doing the things that you hate, I want you to feed what you love. I want you to really tap into your passion. So instead of spending irritation on marketing and sales and technology and any of the stuff that's not your genius, we've got to get you into doing the stuff that you love, the things that you will light up doing, where you're just in a zone and you would do it for hours, the stuff you would do for free, the coaching, the speaking, the helping people. That's what we've got to get you doing most in your business, rather than the other stuff that's going to actually stifle a lot of your creativity and bring irritation into your business. And you can't transform lives and be irritated at the same time, right? Now, I'm going to dive into each one of these a little bit more. Working forwards, going to working backwards, that transformation. What I'm talking about is, intuitively, most coaches go forwards. They think about what the next step is. So here I am. What's the next thing? What's the next product I can sell? What's the next book I can write? What's the next website I can build? What's that next step that I can take, right? It's like looking in the headlights. When everything's dark, you just look to see what's in your headlights. And that's okay for getting in motion, but that's not going to be strategic. That's actually going to be really dangerous in your business. So instead of focusing on what's the next thing I should do, especially the word should, I hate that word. What I want you to do is have end in mind thinking. If this is where you want your business to be in 5 years, let's work backwards. What are the steps that you have to take to end up there 5 years from now. When you have that long-term thinking, it'll take a lot of the short-term obstacles off of the table. It'll take a lot of the doubts, a lot of the fears, a lot of the pressures out of the way if you understand this is a long journey. And in 5 years from now, I want to be here. So it really doesn't matter what happens over the next month, over the next 6 months in my business. I mean, it's important to an extent, but it's not a win or loss. I'm in it for the long haul. You've got to sign up for the long journey. So you've got to inversely create your funnel of marketing, of products, all of that stuff. And with your customers as well, you got to figure out, where do you want your customers to ultimately end up when they leave your seminar, when they leave your teleseminar series, when they leave your your web, your community? Where do you want them to be? And if that's where you want them to be, what would the step be immediately before that? So you imagine if you have 10 floors in a building and you want your customer to end up on floor number 10, and you're very clear on what floor number 10 is, it's much easier to say, if that's floor number 10, what would floor number 9 be? And if that's what floor 9 is, what would floor number 8 be? That is so much easier than to build floor 1 and then notice, there's a ceiling here. Well, let's start building floor number 2. And usually what happens is you have this building that doesn't even line up. It's not congruent with where you want to go, and it'll just come crashing down because you don't have the end in mind thinking. It's not strategic. This is one of the critical things you can do that will absolutely flip the game in your favor, is to have this end in mind thinking. Also, from your customer's perspective, what do they want you to give them? What problems do they have that they want solved? What do they want to buy? What do they already buy? Who do they trust in the market? Who do they not trust? There are certain things that you could do in certain markets that is absolute suicide. It will never work in that market. But if you don't know what those things are, you can't succeed. It's about knowing who your market is. Your market is the expert. Your seeker is the expert. You are not the expert. You're just the guide who've learned some lessons that you can teach, but you're not the expert. Your market is the expert. Your seeker is the expert. They have the answers that you need. And your marketing will create itself. Your pricing will create itself. Your seminars will title themselves when you get involved with your market and change the perspective and start looking backwards. So hopefully this is making sense. This is a critical shift that you've got to make. For instance, I'm going to go through this quickly. The traditional product funnel looks something like this. You have a free thing that you get people into your web with, ebooks, articles, videos, stuff like that. Then you have a small priced item, could be a book or an audio CD, some simple product that's an easy thing for them to buy. Then you have a next level up, maybe $20 to $100, could be a teleseminar series, could be a seminar. Then you've got a next level up to $1,000, another level up to a couple thousand. These prices are totally arbitrary. Don't worry about the prices, but the key concept here is that you've got steps. And each step, there's more in-depth teaching and there's a higher dollar amount. And then finally, at the bottom of the funnel, you've got private coaching, whatever that looks like, whether it's group masterminds or one-on-one. The problem with this is it takes too long to do all those things at the top. You will spend more time creating a free ebook than you will getting a private coaching client. If you had a gun to your head right now and somebody said, you must make $2,000 tonight, you will not do it with an ebook. You will not do it with a teleseminar series. You will not do it with a home study program. You will not do it with a group coaching program, but you could get a private coaching client tonight. So that is the absolute quickest way to your profitability. I think I jumped ahead of myself here. Getting profitable quickly, I got to show you my effects. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. Sorry, I'm such a geek. But it's not going to be all those things. It's going to be the thing that's less intuitive, the thing that most people think you have to build up to. That's actually the best way to create profits in your business now. And getting profitable is something that you have to do as a business. And so what I find is too many people are going the slow route. They're creating the traditional product funnels, but they're not making significant progress. So I want you to make quick progress, and I want you to get cash injected into your business so that you can start investing in your business and you can start speeding up that process. Now, this is my experience. My experience is the two best things for you to invest in, and this will always be the case, it's yourself first. because you are the one that's going to be around when markets crash, when when the communities change, when you have disasters that come through, when you have people that don't do what they say they're going to do. You're going to be the only constant that is standing among the rubble. And that is the most valuable asset you will always have. So your bigger investments should be in yourself. They should be in private coaching that can clean your stuff up. They should be in seminars like Breakthrough to Success, like Advanced, like Train the Trainer. You should always continue polishing yourself. And then the second thing you should invest in my experience from a business perspective, is support. You should invest in communities. You should invest in one-on-one coaching. You should invest in group masterminds. You should invest into communities that will help you go where you want to go further and faster. My experience is those are the two most valuable things, but most people don't invest in those two things first. Most people invest in tools. Most people invest in lottery tickets, hopefully that they're going to put a little bit of money in and get a bunch of money out. Now, I know most of you don't have that mentality, but you really have to watch yourself and know that the long-term returns are going to be in those two things. Obviously, you can tell I'm very passionate about this stuff. Now, the second transformation is do it yourself to done for you. Hang on, let me grab some water here. I've talked about this a lot, so I'll probably be able to go through this pretty quick, but it's not about doing it yourself and trying to learn all this stuff along the way. But let me say this, done for you, even though I said it, done for you is, I have such a negative trigger on that phrase because usually it's marketing BS. Marketers know that people buy stuff on the infomercial. The people who buy infomercial products generally are people that are buying a lottery ticket. They are buying things that they hope are just going to be a quick fix, but they don't want to do anything. They buy the the systems where you just take a couple pills and all the weight falls off of you. They buy the the health gyms that all you got to do is spend 7 minutes a day doing a couple push-ups. 5 push-ups and 7 sit-ups will get you where you want to go if you just pay $19.97 for 12 months in a row, right? That's the stuff that people buy. So done for you works, but in this industry, done for you is generally BS, because how can you buy into something that's done for you, that's literally a turnkey system, and keep your message in there? You can't. So there's got to be customization here. There's got to be a way for you to infuse your heart, your passion, your market, your skill sets, your desires, your fears. We got to take all those things into account and create something that's uniquely you. So it's not about following a system that you can just turn a key on, push a button. You buy this program and you hit the space bar and all of a sudden you got a bunch of money coming to you. That's not what this is about, especially in this industry. We're in the industry of changing lives, right? So it's not about doing something that's quick and simple and easy. It's about being willing to sign up for the long journey. But what's usually missing in this market is not a done for you approach. What's usually missing, because those are dime a dozen, what's usually missing is a sequential framework and a just do this approach, right? My experience is most people need to know what's the next thing that I should do. Should I find out who my seeker is? Should I put up a fan page on Facebook? Should I invest in social media training? Should I get a squeeze page? Should I do a video? Should I sell a teleseminar product? Should I do a seminar? What should I do? What's my next step? And so what I want to bring to this market is a just do this approach. I want to say, hey, listen, put the blinders on. Don't do any of that stuff that's going to distract you. Don't do any of the high school stuff because you're in middle school right now or you're in elementary school. Put all that stuff down. Let's get you through third grade math. The next step for you to get through third grade math is this worksheet. And as soon as you're done with this, I'm going to give you another one. That's what I want to bring to this, is a just do this approach. That's a sequential framework that you can follow. And I also want to give technology that's already built for you. It's easy to find a bunch of how-to information on what your website should have, what your website should have in it, where you should put the opt-in box, how you should blog. There's no shortage of information on how-tos, but what I'm having built right now is an actual website that coaches can plug into, turn on, put their information in, and it has autoresponders already created so that you can fill in your information, but It's as put together as it possibly can be in a framework, and it's done, right? And I know this might sound like it's exactly opposite of what I was saying, but it is, the key here is it's customizable. And this website that I'm having built right now is a template, and it's optimized for marketing and it's optimized for coaches. I don't want to build a website that anybody who's a speaker and trainer and people who want to get on media and stuff like that. No, I want to build a website for people who want to create a coaching practice now. And what are the tabs on your site that you only need? What are the stuff that's going to be too much of a distraction? So I'm having that template built right now. And I really truly believe that that's going to change the game, because so many people know what to do, but they still don't know how to do it. Or they'll go get somebody to build them a website and they'll spend thousands of dollars. And the person that builds the website, they don't know about marketing. They'll gladly take your money to build a pretty website, but it doesn't even have an opt-in box. And if it is, if it's there, it's in the wrong place, and you're asking for too much information, and you're not doing the things that have been proven for years and years and years to build your community. So we have to match what works from a marketing perspective and what works from a coaching perspective. And I don't know if you can tell, but I am fired up about this technology. Now, excuse me, hang on a sec. Oh man. So there's 3 I's. I want to give you 3 I's, and these are the most important concepts of your entire business growth. Okay. The first I is implementation. I already rambled on that. I don't need to drag that on. If you don't implement what you know, then what you know is useless, right? The second I is implementation, because here's what I know. If you don't implement what you know, then what you know is useless. And guess what the third I is? It's implementation, because here's what I've learned. If you don't implement what you know, then what you know is useless. And most information that we buy it's like a ticking time bomb. It's going to self-destruct as soon as you absorb the information, but don't implement it. It's lost. It's useless. I'm looking at thousands and thousands of dollars worth of shelf help on my, in my den right now. Things that literally, I'm holding something right now that still has the cellophane on it, and I paid, I think, $3,000 for that. So how many times do we buy things, but we have a question, we don't know how to implement it, it doesn't really relate to us, and then it dies. The information dies. So it's all about implementation. You'll see that that's what I really want to fight for. I want to spend more energy on implementation than on information, right? So it's all about implementing. Now, the third transformation is moving from fighting what you loathe, all of those irritations, to really feeding what you love. And most people, I mentioned it earlier, so I'll breeze through this stuff, is most people are experiencing marketing misery. And if you have marketing misery, it's going to kill your business. Whether it's sales, writing copy, the technology, those are the things that will ruin your creativity. And the most common response when I ask people, what is it you just want? People say, I just want all that stuff that I don't like doing. I want somebody else to do all that stuff so that I can do the things that I really enjoy, right? I want somebody to do the marketing so I can get to what I love doing, which is teaching and coaching. And if you don't separate those things, if you don't clear yourself of those irritations, then you're going to have an energetic conflict. And if you have that energetic conflict, you will repel people. You won't have that magnetism and attraction like I was talking about earlier, and you're going to struggle. So we have to clear that away. We have to really get you fired up and focused on what you love. And that comes from getting intimately involved with your seeker, clarifying who it is that you're here to serve, who's the person that's seeking the knowledge that you have, and show up authentically to serve them. And we've got to find your clicking point. And what I mean by that is each and every one of us in our business has a clicking point where we find that thing that just clicks. We find the right message, we find the right market, we find the right product, and then we go with that combination. Too many people, and I did this for years, are spending too much time building, the shotgun approach. They're spending too much time with the shotgun approach where they're just spreading all kinds of breadcrumbs all over the place, but they don't have a cake. We've got to direct your focus. We've got to get more laser focused and simplify this process so that you find the combination that's going to work for you. And it's going to be different for all of us, right? It's going to be different. But when you do that, you're going to fall in love. And I want you to fall passionately and madly in love with this mission that you have. I am in love with my mission. And because I'm in love with my mission, I attract people who also want to be in love with my mission, or who are in love with my mission because of my love of my mission, right? Passion is contagious. That's the most powerful thing you have from an influence and a persuasion standpoint, is passion. But you cannot hold on to passion and irritation at the same time. So it's about, really owning who you are, planting your flag, bringing your unique and distinct message to the world so you can fall in love and you can stand out and you can be bold and you can be brilliant. It's not about trying to be like other coaches, other trainers. It's about being like you. There's already, almost 7 billion people on this planet. You got to stand out. It's about showing your stripes. Don't just try to be like everybody else. You got to fall in love with all of your scars. You got to fall in love with all of those hardships, your stretch marks. You got to fall in love with everything that's uniquely you, because that's where your leadership lies. That's where your brilliance truly is. And you have to be willing to share that with the world. So be brilliant. Now, just as a quick recap, the 3 transformations is you've got to go from working forwards to working backwards. You've got to go from the do-it-yourself method to the done-for-you framework. Learn the lessons that have already been learned before you to save you time and money and heartache. And you've got to really tap into your passion and truly feed what you love. Now, as we wrap up here, here's the most important concept I can give you. The absolute most important thing I can give you is go. Go for it. You have to be willing to get into that ring. You've got to be willing to say, this is who I am, and this is what I'm here to do. And I don't care who doesn't believe that, and I don't care who doesn't want what I have. There are people out there who are desperately seeking my knowledge and my lessons. So I am obligated to serve those people. That passion, that fire inside of you has got to be the most important thing that you keep going. And you got to take it easy on yourself. I mean, the bottom line is, you know what? When you start going, whether it's a brand new business or a brand new market, you're going to the next level. Listen, your first materials are probably going to suck. Your first flyers are probably going to suck. Your first website, your first teleseminar, your first everything is probably going to suck. And you know what? You have to be okay with that. You have to pre-forgive yourself for all the mistakes you're about to make, because you will make them. If you're playing this game big enough, you will make mistakes. But most people are so scared to make a mistake, they don't get in motion. But you have to put that to the side. You have to pre-forgive all of your mistakes going forward. You've got to take it easy on yourself, and you got to go. Each and every one of us at some point in time learn to ride a bike, but you can't learn to ride a bike by staring at the bike. You got to start pedaling. You can't learn how to balance yourself unless you get in motion. Another analogy that I love is pottery. We want to make these brilliant vases or vases or whatever they're called, and we want to, create this amazing work, but you can't do that unless you spin the wheel. If the wheel is spinning, you can do what this guy's doing here, and you can just put your finger in there and you can make this amazing, beautifully textured indentation. But you can't do that if the wheel's not spinning. You can't do the tests and the tweaks that are important, that are imperative, that are crucial to your business unless your wheels are spinning. So you got to go. You got to get in motion. You got to jump in. You can't learn to swim on the side of the pool. You got to jump in. That's the only way you're ever going to learn. So if I could leave you with 2 things tonight, it's you can absolutely do this, and I will fight for you. You can absolutely do this as long as you're willing to go for it, as long as you're willing to jump in. If you haven't made that decision to fight for that little child inside of you that wants everything that it ever wanted, to fight for your goals and your dreams, if you're not willing to fight for those seekers who are desperately searching for the information that you have, if you haven't made that choice to fight against everything that comes your way, that this journey is big enough, if this journey is not big enough, then nobody can help you. But as soon as you make that decision to fight, no matter what comes your way, nothing, nobody can stop you. That's your decision to make. That's not mine. That's yours. As soon as you make that decision, though, now we can play together. Now I can share with you what I've learned along the way. So for those of you if this is resonating with you, if you are wanting to jump in, if you're wanting to take that next step, I want to tell you about my project. This is my mission. This is what I am, I'm on that bold mission to create 1,000 full-time coaches here. And I'm calling it the Full-Time Coach Project. So I want to take a few minutes and tell you what this is about. This is going to resonate with some of you, and if it is, let's go. It's going to not resonate with some of you, and if it doesn't, that's cool too. But I want to share with you what I'm doing to really assist people who are ready to play that high level game. It's called the Full-Time Coach Program, or project rather. And here's what makes this program different. The first thing that makes this program different is that it's an extension of Jack's work. This is a lifelong community that I want to build, and I want it to be rooted in Jack's work. Jack is the only constant in my journey. I know so many of you are in love with his work, and you're in love with how you feel when you're in his presence. And I want this to be an extension of that. I want us to be grounded in that kind of energy, that kind of love, that kind of community, and then go forward and change the world with it. So it's deeply rooted with this heart-centered transformational work. The other thing is we're at the early stages, so you have an opportunity to co-create this with me. I'm not really even the leader of this thing. I'm guiding it. I'm, putting it together as much as I can, but this is a co-creation. I want to learn from some of you as much as I want to teach some of you and share some of my mistakes. So this is a journey that we all want to, go on together. We all want to commit to together. And when we have hands locked and we're all moving in the same direction with the same passion and for the same reason, then nothing can get in our way, right? This also is just for coaches. This is not for internet marketers. It's not for, just authors. It's just for coaches. Everything I do has a spin for coaches. And that's what this full-time coach project is. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily mean one-on-one private coaching. It could be group coaching. It could be seminars. It could be teleseminars. But it's serving people. It's helping people. That's what this is about. And I mentioned the just do this sequential approach because I've realized that that's what's missing for most people. So that's what I want to bring to the table. I want to bring the solution to that problem, especially from a marketing perspective. And it's going to be simple. This is my game plan. This is my intention. It's going to be simple. It's going to be layered strategically from the ground up. I don't want to teach you how to do 7th grade stuff if you're in 1st grade. I don't want to teach you how to make a 6-figure video launch. First of all, that's incongruent because I haven't done that yet. But I don't want to teach you things that are possible, but they're just too far out in front of you. I want to teach you the things that you need to do next in order to keep your ball in motion. So this is all layered strategically from the ground up. And like I said, this is whether you're building a new business or you're going into a new market or creating a new product, whatever it is. These strategic steps are going to apply to any growth that we do, basically. And most of my energy and resources, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be spent on implementation. I want to know, how's the website working for you? I want to know, can you follow the videos? I want to know, are you implementing? And if you're not implementing, what can I do to support you from an infrastructure perspective, customer service, video quality, sequencing? How can I help you implement? My mission is over the next 2 years to create a program that will change the game in this coaching industry, because I think it's the most noble thing that we can do when we stand up and say, I want to help other people travel along the path that I've traveled and learn a lot of the lessons that I've learned. I want to help some of those people. That's the most noble game that you can play. And it's not easy, but it's a big enough game for you to commit to. So my intention is to create not a program that sells a bunch. I want to create a program that delivers a bunch. I'm not concerned about what percentages people buy, of my program. I'm concerned about what percentages do they implement? What percentages of the people become that full-time coach and trainer and speaker or whatever they want to do? That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about long-term success, not short-term sales conversions, right? So the full-time coach project, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take you to this website. And you can go there too on your end if you want to, if you're in front of the computer. It's fulltimecoachproject.com/FTCP, which obviously stands for full-time coach. This is the website. If you want more information, I'm just going to walk you through this really quick so you just get an understanding of what some of the details are. And just as an overview, what this is going to be is a just do this approach to a teleseminar series. This is going to be a telecoaching series, and it's going to start October 1st. Honestly, I don't know when it's going to end. I've got about 20 modules planned right now, but I can virtually guarantee you as we go along, I'm going to think of more stuff. And my goal is to give you the most comprehensive but simple, just do this approach that's out there in this coaching community. So all I know is that I'm starting October 1st. I don't know when I'm ending, but I know it's going to be valuable. I know it's going to rock. We're also going to give you technology tips in the form of tutorial videos. We're filming how to put up websites, whether you put up your website or you give it to somebody else to put up the website. We're going to teach you how to set up your autoresponders, how to, do a lot of the technology things that are simple. Now, I'm not trying to turn you into a technology wizard. The things that are simple that you can do them. The things that you don't want to do, give somebody else the tutorials to do them. But we want to give you these tutorial videos so that you can stay in motion. And it's all about what are the things that you need right now at your stage of the game, not all these advanced things, right? There's going to be monthly mentorship coaching calls with me where I'm going to get on the phone every month with you, and it's just open season. How can I help? It's going to be laser coaching. You might say, I'm having a technology problem. I don't know how to string my websites together. We'll deal with that. You might say, I don't know who my seeker should be. And I'm going to open it up and say, okay, great. Who is it? What's your message? What is it that your mission is? What are you passionate about? And I might spend 2 minutes with you. I might spend 15 minutes with you. I'm going to pour into you in those mentorship calls as much as I possibly can so that you can implement, so that you can keep going. And those of you that are listening on those calls, invariably, you're going to learn stuff, even if it's not your question, or it's going to spur other questions for you that you can then jump on the call with or send them to the support community that we're going to have. We're going to have online forums where you can answer each other's questions. I think that's probably going to look like a Facebook private group. We might build another forum that's a little bit more controlled than Facebook. I'm not sure. But at the very least, we'll have a closed Facebook group where we can continue. We can share each other's wins. We can answer questions. We can build partnerships. I mean, that's what it takes to create success in this game, is support. So I'm putting more of my money, more of my energy, more of my resources after somebody joins this program than before they join the program. So that's an overview, a couple of the details, and this is going to be delivered mostly in the teleseminar series as well as the videos. It's, phase one is all about getting you marketable. We got to take a look at your program. What's your mission? What's your message? Who's your seeker? What's your solution? We got to design your program. See, most people don't spend the time on this, and I think this is the most critical thing for you to spend your time on, right? Invest your time in the foundation. Once you get these, then you're going to have the certainty. Then you're going to have a lot of the questions answered later on once you get to the technology part, once you get to the tools. So I want you to put as much time as it takes to get passionately certain on this foundational piece. I was just in Arizona not too long ago with a coaching group of mine, and we spent hours, and we did masterminds, and we did flip chart brainstorming on this stuff for each person, and none of them are done. I'm still not done, and I teach this stuff. I live this stuff. So we have to spend some time. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to take months, but what I'm saying is you owe it to the success of your business to get the foundation correct. If you do not get the foundation correct, then all of these other things that you try to do are going to be difficult, okay? So once we get some of the foundation, now the phase two is when we start getting you visible. That's when we start building your platform. We start creating some online presence and some offline presence. We're going to take a look at your websites. I'll teach you some some of what's called the wireframes, what goes where on your website. You're going to get a website, right? For those of you who don't have a website, if you do have a website, you'll get one to model. I'll teach you about squeeze pages. How do you string them all together? How do you create list building strategies? How do you integrate everything? How do you do your videos? A lot of people know they're supposed to do videos, but they don't know what to say in front of the camera. I want to give you templates to follow on your videos. And I'm also going to introduce you to Romeo, that I'll talk a bit about here in a moment, who's like a video guru and a god. So that's how I think of him, at least. And we have to really get you comfortable on video. But here's the thing. You can't be comfortable and magnetic on video unless you understand the foundation. If you understand who's watching your video and what do they need you to say, then whatever you say in front of the video is going to be not totally useless, but it's not going to be as effective as it could be. So we're going to look at a lot of the sequencing about your campaigns. We're going to look at the strategies, the 5-year working backwards plans, right? We're going to talk about outlines. We're going to talk about how do you deliver your content. We're going to talk about creating products. We're going to talk about delivering products. To date, I think I've created about 200 audio products that are up on our website that are sellable. Now, we don't do the greatest job of actually letting people know about them, but we have about 200 sellable products. So I know what it's like to create teleseminar series. I know what to do. I know what not to do. I could tell you certain things that it took me a year and a half to learn, and I would have paid $5,000 if somebody would have cut my learning curve down just on a product creation and how to deliver it and what to say. How do you cut down on refunds? How do you get people into the experience of your material right away? So there's so much that you got to learn. And again, I want you to learn it in as short of a learning curve as possible. We'll talk about all kinds of technology stuff. And then phase 3 is where we really look at getting profitable. Okay, so we're going to create that signature story. We're going to create the signature speech, whether you're giving it on a teleseminar or in an article or in a longer seminar. We're going to talk about speaking skills. We're going to talk about designing your presentations forward and backwards. We're going to talk about sales and influence. I've been doing a lot of studying on human attraction theory. And so one of the things I'm going to give you is the 12 pillars of persuasion. When it's time for you to persuade somebody, and this is not brainstorming, but when it's time for you to persuade somebody, to incite them to make a decision, to help tap them into their drivers, those things deeply hidden down inside, that is their decision-making mechanism, right? You got to be able to tap people into that. And there's a formula for that. There are certain things that the human brain needs to hear, needs to understand in order to tap into those internal resources. And I want to give you that in the 12 pillars of persuasion. I'll tell you, that right there, that module right there will be worth everything that you end up investing. It'll be worth everything. I'm telling you, I'm like a kid in a candy store teaching this information because it's totally changed the game. It's changed the way I do my videos. It's changed the way I do all of my content. And it's just tremendously shifted the results, the energy, the following. And part of persuasion is also creating a movement. How do you create a movement that people want to be a part of? And how do you help people create a movement internally so that they actually stay in motion, right? We're going to talk about authentic sales. That's such a key distinction. That sales and influence piece right there is going to be huge. And there is a way to do it authentically, leading with your heart. But you can't just follow the way most of us are intuitively taught to sell, or most of us experience selling. We're in a transformational coaching industry, and that's different. You offer your transformational coaching products and programs differently than somebody sells their make money in real estate program. So we can't just follow the same things. We need to create trust with people. We need to be totally vulnerable because we're asking them to get intimately involved in our programs. That's a different game. You have to sell that differently than a program where you're just teaching people how to make money. And I'm not judging that. I'm just saying they're different. And if you don't do them, differently, if you don't give each one of them the unique recipe that each one of them deserves, you're going to fail with both. So anyway, back on the profitable, we're going to talk about offline promotions. How do you network? How do you do the local speaking? I mentioned that a little bit. Promotional products, whether they're flyers, not websites, but business cards, little things like that. We'll talk about social media. You got to be on social media today, but there's an art to that. I mentioned Facebook fan pages, blogging. We'll create a roadmap for you to do all that stuff. We're going to talk a lot about online marketing. If you really want to increase your tribe, as we call it, increase your community, then you've got to understand online marketing. You got to get people into your events, into your websites. You got to get them on your email list. You got to understand paid advertising, free advertising, partnerships. So that's the game that we're playing. And again, I want this to change the market. I really do. I want this to change the market for the brand new coach. That's who I am really truly committed to. It's the new coaches. I love it when I hear people say, hey, I just made $10,000 in this in this speaking thing that I did. I just had a client the other day say, yeah, I'm going this place and they're paying me $10,000 a day. That's awesome. But you know what I really truly love? It's the people who get their first client. It's the people who get the very first person that goes to their website and joins their list. It's the very first comment that you get on Facebook. It's the very first steps that you take in this game. That's what keeps me going. That's what lights my flame, because what I know is that if I can't help people graduate kindergarten, they'll never get to elementary school. They'll never get to middle school. They'll never get to high school. So my focus is on the brand new coaches. Now, as I said, if you're not where you want to be in your business and you want to go further and faster, I can promise you these are the steps that I take. I'm 7 years into this game. These are the steps that I'm taking right now in this coaching market. So these things will apply to any new project, new product that you're taking on, but especially for new business owners. Your business cannot survive if you don't do these things, right? And if any of you have a business, you've been coaching for a while, and you want to find out if this is really going to relate to you, then email me, call me, text me if you have my number, and I'm more than happy to share my information with you. But this is in my intention is this is going to change the game. Now, here's what I'm offering. What I'm offering is founding memberships. And this will easily sell for at least $2,000. I don't think I'll be able to sell it for only $2,000 in 2 years from now. Once I get this up and going, and it comes with a website, and it comes with all this stuff, and all the kinks are ironed out in 2 years from now, I probably won't be able to sell it any less than $4,000, $5,000. I know it's that valuable. I'm not trying to say that to be the used car salesman or whatever, but I truly know it's incredibly valuable to put all this information. And that's the game that I'm wanting to play. And what I'm wanting is people to help co-create that with me. So what I'm looking for are founding members. As a founding member, you're going to get that customizable website I told you about that's being built right now. That template, you're going to get it delivered to you. If you don't have a website, you can turn that thing on and there it is. And you can customize it, change the fonts, you can change the coloring, you can change the branding, but the infrastructure is there, and it's the right kind of infrastructure. The tabs are where they're supposed to be. The opt-in box is where it's supposed to be. It's customized and what's the word? Not maximized. I don't know the word, but it's customized for coaches. Okay. You're also going to get 12 months of my monthly continuity group coaching program that I'll eventually end up selling for about $97 a month, I think. That's going to be marketing for coaches. There's going to be projects to do every single month. You're going to get to experience that support community for a full year. You're going to get all of my personal development products. Now, I told you I have 200 products. I would never try to feed that to anybody. That's way too many. But I'll tell you, what I want to share with you is the stuff that I've been doing for the last 7 years that really changes the internal game for people. There's a set of products that I have called Releasing the Brakes. And that's what's going to help you identify what those limiting beliefs and what those blocks are internally for you. If we can't get you past those, you will always be stifled. So one of the things that's going to be my suggestion that you do first is listen to the 4 CD series called Releasing the Brakes. And that's all about limiting beliefs. And that's my version of that exercise that Matt did for me in 2005 that cleared me of my biggest obstacles and my biggest limiting beliefs. But you're going to have online access, offline access to everything that I've done from a personal development standpoint. You're going to go to any of my personal development seminars for free. Now, some of my seminars are personal development seminars. Some of them are marketing seminars for coaches. That's not what I'm talking about here. Those seminars are several $1,000s. But personal development seminars, you're going to get all that stuff for free. right? It's going to be a huge value. I don't know what the value is going to be on that. I mean, it depends on how much you put into. It's at least $2,000 in terms of what we're giving you access to. You're going to have 12 full months of My Eagles Club, which is more of the personal development monthly program. You're going to have lifetime access to all of our related upgrades on any of the technology that we have, any of the websites, any of the updates that are necessary. You're going to have free upgrades to any of those things as you go along. You're going to have lifetime access to all the forums, all the communities. I want people who are ready to go full out and are in it for the long haul. All right? That's who I want as founding members. Okay? As a founding member, I'm asking you to do certain things though. As a founding member, actually, I've got it on a different page I want to tell you. Before I share you your responsibilities as a founding member, I want to share with you the FAT bonuses. And that stands for fast action takers. Here's the FAT bonuses. The first 5 people from now who are on this webinar and or listening to the replay or whatever, for the first 5 people, I want to help you implement personally with myself. So you're going to get 3 one-hour private coaching calls with me. I charge $350 an hour. And this is so that you can implement a lot of the things that we've been talking about. Ideally, this is going to be a couple months into the program where you can, we can work on the stuff that you're falling short on, the stuff you don't understand. But if you want to do it, in a couple weeks, we'll do whatever we got to do. If, this is your value to use however you can, right? And then we can work on any aspect of your business. We can work on branding, positioning, sales copy, website design, whatever. We can work on whatever you want. And you're going to get 3 hours of my time. That's for the first 5 people. For those first 5 people and the next 5 people. So for the first 10 people, let's talk about Romeo Marquez Jr. Many of you know Romeo from Jack's events. Either you were in Train the Trainer with him last year or you saw him assist at BTS this year. He is one of the most high energy guys I've ever met. And he is brilliant. He is an acting coach. He's a video coach. He's a professor of theater, film, and television. He's appeared in feature films. He's coached people that have, headlining television shows right now. He's been on and coached clients onto television, films, commercials with some of the biggest stars seen by millions and millions of people. This man knows what life is like on the other side of the camera. And he knows what people need to see from the opposite side of the camera. Now, he is not the kind of guy that's just going to teach you how to be fake and to put on a suit and to try to do things that are not you. He's the kind of guy that's going to help you bring out who you naturally, honestly, and truly are. And what he really helps people do is he's going to help you get comfortable. He's going to help you get confident. He's going to help you get captivating in front of your videos. And what he's donating is a 90-minute charisma consultation with him. Now, charisma is nothing that you get externally. Charisma is something that you discover from within. So he's going to help you bring that out, whether that looks like a brand that you have or a certain word that you should really put your energy on, or a certain style of dress, or how you should, how you should introduce yourself in the very first pieces of your video. How should you put together your video campaign? He can help you with anything that's video related, especially your energy on video, because if you're not captivating on your videos, then people will stop watching. So I love to throw out fast action taker bonuses. I call them the fat bonuses. So if any of you know this is for you and you want to take that jump on in, and this is my way of rewarding you. This does have a money-back guarantee. It's a 60-day money-back guarantee. And if you're not fully satisfied, you're going to make money. So if at any point within the 60 days of when the program starts, not now, but starting October 1st, when it starts, if at any time within the 60 days, you're like, you know what, man, this is nothing like you said it was. This is not the best thing I've ever had. This is not helping me build my business, not helping me make money. I want my money back. I will give you your money back, but I'll also throw in an extra $100 just because. So I really want to make this a no-brainer for the people who this is resonating with. I want to make this a no-brainer. And some of you might be thinking, Sean's just really selling this because he wants us to buy this stuff. You're absolutely 100% right. I want you in this community. If you're the kind of person that's willing to play full out, if you're that kind of person, I want you into this community. So I want to do everything I possibly can to help you, to entice you to jump in. So if this is resonating with you, let's go. If you want to be a founding member, this is my little guy. I'm calling him Super Coach. Da, da, da. This is my little guy. If you want to adopt that position within your market and help people that need you to help them, then I want to help you. I want to help people that want to play that kind of game. So as a founding member, you're going to get the program at half the price. So you're going to get it at only $997. And there's a payment plan there you can see if you want. But as a founding member, I am going to require things from you. I am asking you in exchange, I want you to implement the stuff. What good is it if I build you a website if you don't turn it on and use it? What good is it if I teach you what to say on videos if you're not going to use them? And by the way, you don't necessarily have to be in front of the camera. You can do videos that are being recorded like I'm doing right now. Nobody can see me, but this is being recorded and it's going to live on as a video. You can do videos just in front of your computer without anybody seeing your face. But a lot of the energy still applies to those videos as well. So what good is it if we're going to teach you things if you're not going to implement them? But when you implement them, I want you to, number one, share your success stories. But if you're struggling with anything, I want you to tell us how we can help you fix those problems as well. So I want this to be an interactive journey for us. I don't want this to be something that you take, go away, and then try to deal with it on your own. I want to help you. I'm dedicating resources to help you. I want to create a community of support. And if you're not going to implement, I'll tell you this right now, if you're not going to implement and you won't let us help you, then please do not become a founding member. I don't want lottery ticket players. I don't want people who want to just invest a little bit of time, energy, and money and hope, as soon as you put up a website, people are going to show up at your door with loads of cash to dump on you. That's not what this game is about. But if that's what's in your heart, then I want to help you however I can. So I want you to give me your feedback on what works, what's going to work better. And here's what I'm asking. I'm asking that this community becomes one of contribution. I'm asking that, and these numbers are totally arbitrary, but I'm asking, once you hit that place where you are either a full-time coach or you're making expendable or dispensable income, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for there, that you give back, because this is about contributing to society. So that's who I want to attract. And again, those numbers are arbitrary, but I just want to create a community of giving back. And these are just some of this is just kind of recapping some of those other bonuses. So you're going to get the group coaching. The website even tells more of what you're going to get. But, you're going to get early announcements on all the programs and products going forward and so forth. We talked about the guarantee. You either make money or you don't make money. You've got these fat bonuses. So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I told you that I'm on a mission to create 1,000 full-time, highly successful coaches who are fulfilling their mission on this planet, who are bringing their message into the world. And if you want to be one of them, then let's go. Now, if this is not for you, I deeply, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for the time that you've invested in me. I honor you for the commitment that you're giving to yourself. I wish you all the best in your journey. This is not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. I totally get it. And if that's you, then I honor and appreciate you. And if there's anything else I can do to help you in the Facebook community or whatever, then please let me know. I hope this information has helped you in some way, shape, or form. I hope it's helped you shorten your learning curve or benefit personally in your business, whatever. But if this is for you, if this is resonating with you, if you've got goosebumps, if you've got a lump in your throat, if this is a hell yes, and if you want to be part of that mission, and you want to be one of those people on the front line of this charge, then let's go. Let's go. And I want to walk with you arm in arm and teach you everything I possibly can, help you any way I possibly can. But here's my promise. I will never sell easy in this industry. I will never tell you this is going to be easy. Just do this no. I will never sell easy. This journey will not be easy. But what I will sell you is support. So this is not going to be easy, but I'll be there to support you when it gets hard. I'll be there to answer the questions that you have that will come up along the way. This game is big enough to play at a higher level. And there are challenges that will come up. There are fears that will come up. There are disasters that more than likely will happen. So this is not going to be easy, but I'll tell you what, this is going to be worth it. And if you want to play that level of game, then let's go. Now, I promise you, I'm going to open it up to Q&A here in a moment. I promise you a free recording for anybody that made it to the end here, and I honor you. And I know we've been on for almost 2 hours. Those of you that have been here the full 2 hours, holy cow, I appreciate you. And you know what? I just get going and I get passionate, and oh well. But if you want an MP3 recording, just shoot me an email at that email address, Sean@coachshansmith.com. I'll send the file to you. I don't know how I'm going to get this file to you. This is going to be a big one. And I'll also shoot over to you the attachment and a download link so that you can get the attachment, get the recording. That's what I wanted to promise to you. So we're at the part of the show that, you know what, if you have any questions and answers, or I'll have the answers hopefully, but if you have any questions, then raise your hand. Remember, you can raise your hand in the control panel here, and I'll see what I can do. So I don't want that crazy cat to be staring at you the whole time. So let's go to some questions. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have any questions. Or if you have a comment, you can do that too. So let's see. Question.